The Meeples and Miniatures podcast has been very proud to be sponsored by Two Fat Lardies and Firestorm Games, but also over the years by Caliber Books, Coat Arms Paints, Henry Hyde and Battle Games, and Geek Nation Tours, and of course by the very generous donations of many of our listeners. Those contributions have meant so much to us, and we want to give our heartfelt thanks to everyone for your support over the years. It's kept us on the air, it's kept us encouraged and kept us going, and thank you guys. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 283. Gaming review of 2019. Favourite games of all time, and perhaps the final curtain. With hosts Neil Shuck and Mike Hobbs. This show was recorded on the 29th of December 2019.
I think you did that beautifully, Neil.
Thank you. I just realised I'm going to have to do a little bit of editing because we need to put the music in.
Dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, it's not quite the same. Stop talking, music goes here. Hello, good morning, as opposed to good evening, because we are recording this relatively early on a Sunday morning, which is a bit of a change for us, but it's just after Christmas, and, well, here we are. 'Tis I, the Brummy Dwarf, and I am joined, as ever, on the Meeples and Miniatures podcast by my good friend, partner in crime, fellow game sufferer. It is, of course, the Welsh wizard himself. It's Mr. Michael Hobbs. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Neil. Good morning, Meeps. Good morning, worlds.
How are we all?
Well, I'm awake at 9:30 on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's an unearthly hour, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the things we do for our wonderful listeners.
Indeed, indeed. So here we are in what has been advertised as the 283rd and last Meeples and Miniatures podcast. Yes, folks. If you haven't caught up with this by now,
you might want to sit down. We've got some bad news for you.
We've got some bad news for you, yes. Okay, this is going to be, at least in its current form, well, no, correction. This is going to be the last Meeples and Miniatures podcast that will be published. Stuff coming out in future, while maybe under the Meeples and Miniatures stream, and maybe on the Meeples and Miniatures website, won't necessarily be Meeples and Miniatures.
No, there'll be a brand new bi-weekly podcast featuring me with Neil as my co-host.
Indeed, yes. Yes, we're doing something new next year. Mike's going to do all the editing.
Hey?
I'm going to sit down doing nothing. No. Okay, right. So, just to explain. Actually, I want something to add. Okay, so I announced at the start of December that after 12 years of podcasting, I come to the decision that perhaps it was time to move on and do something different. And having discussed this with Mike, and obviously completely shocked him with the news.
Didn't really.
We decided. Now, originally, this was we were going to keep going till show 300, which was going to be September next year. However, with recent events in personal life, I don't know, it could just kind of expedited the decision, I suppose. As many of you will know, because I've talked about it a bit on Twitter, I lost a very close friend of mine in November. And yeah, it's amazing how a close encounter with death can concentrate your mind on what you're doing or what's going on. And so this has been in the back of my mind for a while, and so yeah, it just kind of expedited things a bit, and hence why, and plus the fact, it's the end of a year, it's the end of a decade, and so it just seemed kind of appropriate to kind of bring it to a close at this point. Now, I wanted to address something because when I posted the blog, one thing I said was that I wanted to spend the time that I was currently spending editing the podcast, which potentially can take an entire day if I end up doing it on a Saturday, for example. I wanted to spend that time more positively in the hobby, especially encountering and gaming with friends, face to face or what have you. And I must admit, especially since I'm kind of thinking that's a slightly disingenuous comment for one particular reason.
Don't have any friends?
I might not by the end of this podcast.
Oh, God, you're not going to break up a hickey, are you?
Because, I mean, I suppose more than anything, okay, right. Since the announcement, we have been overwhelmed. I mean, properly overwhelmed and bowled over by the reaction. And by the number of people who've gone out their way to comment about the show. And how, how it's accompanied them, how it's affected their hobby, I suppose potentially how it's affected their bank balance, but the overwhelming thing has been about, how they felt like being a part of our gaming, which is kind of what we were going for. This whole podcast thing of kind of joining in a conversation of mates down the pub chatting about gaming. That's kind of what we were going for, and it seems that we've hit the mark, and so many of you have got on board with that, And someone made a comment quite recently, which I'm glad came out. Lars, thank you, Lars, said, I feel like I'm losing a couple of mates. And was quite upset about it. And the reason I was saying I felt a bit disingenuous is that, we've got a regular core listenership of a couple of thousand people. A lot of whom have been with us for a long time. And yeah, when I say gaming with friends, I recognise that what we've done over the past years has enabled us to build friendships with people right around the world. Over social media, through correspondence via email and the blog and what have you. So I recognise that, and yeah, that is, I suppose that's a gutting thing about turning around and saying, I'm bringing this to an end. So I just wanted to say that I didn't want to say that when I was saying I want to spend more time with friends, that doesn't mean to say I discount what we have here and what we've built here and the community that has grown up around the podcast. That has been such a major part of our lives over the last 12 years. And I want to thank you for it. It's been tremendous. It's been a privilege to get to know so many of you. And thank you for sharing your hobby with us and everything else besides. And I am, it's been a pleasure to get to know so many of you. So, yeah, thank you.
Oh God, that's so sad.
Okay, so as we might have mentioned on Twitter, we're kind of recording this live, as in I don't intend to do a lot of editing on this show at all. We'll see what we'll see if we can get through it. No, in all seriousness, guys, thank you so much for everything, and I'll try not to get too bloody and sentimental anymore at this point. But it really is hard. As I say, so overwhelmed by the messages and responses we've had to the news that was going. There have been some which have been downright. Have made me howl in laughter. I think it has to be said. I think my favourite still goes to the show's favourite, legal counsel, who yes, the cranky lawyer himself, who immediately turned around and said, "You obviously haven't got my cease and desist order, cease desisting," which made me howl with laughter when I saw that one. Thank you, sir. But no, it's been yeah. And so, yeah. So many people have said so many good things about us. We're not going away completely.
Hey?
Obviously.
So,
Well, I'm saying obviously.
I thought your job started on Monday.
I thought we got the farewell tour to do.
Oh yeah, I'm booking the tour, obviously, but
yeah. It's amazing how many people want us to come on and talk. Want us to come on and talk about the podcast. Yeah. So, This won't be the last time you hear about this, but yeah, I mean, obviously, Mike starts his new job as a podcast co-host somewhere else, because obviously the job offers have been flooding in for him.
Oh, flying him! I mean, yeah. I can't tell you how many people have said that come and join the show. That we need a decent co-host because the one we got is really not up to the mark. You know, and yeah, which is nice. You know, there's a bidding war at the moment, which I don't want to go into.
So, you know, as I say, yeah, Mike's services will be freely available.
Not fully.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No. Never comes free.
No, you've learnt that for Queen on here.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Now, I have mentioned that there might be something coming out because, okay, so just a kind of point of order on what's happening. I'm keeping the Libsyn account open, and you have to do that with like a minimum subscription, which actually could give us a bit of bandwidth a month. So I might decide that I don't want to waste that and might kind of record something every so often and just drop something on the feed. But no, I'm keeping the Libsyn account open and also the WordPress account. So the website's not going away. The Libsyn account and therefore the RSS feed is not going away. So everything will be on there. The Patreon page will be being shut down. And that will probably be happening sometime during January. So if you are a Patreon of the show, then I would suggest that if you want any downloads of stuff, then you grab them in the next couple of weeks, because as I say, I will be shutting the Patreon account for Meeples and Miniatures down. Interestingly, plans for the immediate future. I'm probably going to be blogging a lot more. Because especially this last year, the blog has, well, not had a tremendous amount of entries, but I'm certainly planning on doing that a lot more this year, and see where we go from there, really. Yeah, taking a break, and then seeing how long it is before the urge to record something strikes. And you never know, we might end up being somewhere and recording something at some point. I still have a portable microphone, so you never know what might happen. But that's for the future. At the moment, as I say, this is going to be the last one for a while, and we'll see where we go from there. Right. So that's kind of the news out the way. As I say, this is the last one, so the plan is to do our usual review, a gaming review of the year, and we thought we'd also round it out with our current favourite games. Are we going to do a hobby and confession, or are we just going to plough on and go? I mean, have we got anything to confess?
No, I suppose we could maybe chat about Christmas presents if anybody, you know.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I suppose we could. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Christmas presents and perhaps what has happened since.
Mm.
Yes. Okay. So, what'd you get for Christmas then, Mike?
Oh, well, here we go. Not a huge amount, so hobby-wise, mate. I had some nice vouchers for Firestorm Games.
Excellent.
Which will be spent on something. But the wife lovingly bought me some Foundry Persians and Thracians.
Really? Wow.
Luckily, she bought me exactly the ones I wanted.
How on earth did she manage that?
Oh, I don't know. It's almost like I left a list hanging around.
Did you check it twice?
Oh, I checked it many times. I even made sure there were clickable links so she could just go in and click and add to cart. Yes. So, I got Foundry Persians and Phaeacians, which are going to be used in Mortal Gods.
Oh, most excellent stuff.
Yeah. So, the bad news is for Gareth at ADC Painting. Hello, Gareth. Get some purple and yellow in, mate. Persians are on their way. Because he loves doing bright colours and patterns.
I bet he loves it almost as much as Henry does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. If you haven't been following, if you don't follow Henry Hyde on Twitter, why not? But hello, Henry. It has been quite entertaining watching him slowly go out of his brain painting brightly coloured horse archers.
Yes. They're definitely coloured.
Indeed, they are. Yeah. Yes. At the point where I realised he'd brightly patterned all his saddle cloths and everything else, I'm thinking, yes, okay. This is a level of madness I don't wish to descend to.
And did you notice he actually did it without having to resort to a spreadsheet or some weird dice mechanic?
Madness. Complete madness.
Yeah.
I don't understand at all. No. Sorry, my brain doesn't do random.
No.
Seriously, I cannot get my head around it. This whole thing of okay, choose a random colour.
You poor sick deluded fool, you. Anyway, so what did you have for Christmas?
What did I have for Christmas? Again, not much hobby-wise. A couple of things. Well, as a combined Christmas and birthday present, so I'm not actually quite sure if I've actually got it yet or not. So it's kind of in that, because I am one of these people that's cursed with having a birthday near Christmas. My birthday's in a couple of weeks' time, and so more often than not, I tend to get joint presents. Have a Christmas and birthday present together. Anybody who has a birthday around this time of the year will understand that particular curse. To have a birthday in July. Anyway, so I got an expansion for Imperial Assault from Josh. That's the Jabba's Realm expansion. And then my other gaming related present. Somebody very dear to my heart decided that they wanted to send me down some new rabbit hole. Thank you, Michael.
Well, you introduce it first, and then I'll tell you my reasoning.
Okay. So Michael has decided that I obviously haven't got enough. Yes, my investment in Fantasy Flight is currently not sufficient, and therefore he bought me the starter set for Legend of the Five Rings, which I understand, I am led to believe, is a very good two-player living card game.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
And you like your samurai?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some would say it's a very thoughtful and loving gift.
So would say it's a very thoughtful and loving gift. A gift that, due to the number of expansions currently available,
just keeps giving. Yes.
Yes, a gift that will keep giving for some time. Yes. If only that keeping giving was coming out of your bank balance as opposed to mine.
Oh, I could do. I mean, I mean, it's your birthday soon, so maybe I'll buy you a little expansion.
Oh, let's not go there.
Just the start of one of the other cycles for you. There you go.
I don't know. No, don't go there. Oh no. Anyway, Yeah, because so I said thank you, and and tweeted it, and immediately Fantasy Flight 2. I got a response from whoever was running the Fantasy Flight Twitter account saying, really pleased that you're interested in it. What clan do you want to play? I don't know. I've not even opened the box yet.
I can't believe you didn't reply to them. I mean, not many people get a tweet from Fantasy Flight. But you just snubbed them. Just
I don't. I was shocked, but it was like, however, that has not been the only hobby purchase that I have made.
That you've made? That you received, you mean?
No. Well, yeah. Sorry. Those are the two hobby purchases I received.
Okay.
However, thanks to the rather unusual instance of the fact that I actually went in for the lottery on Christmas Eve, because I thought, why not? I never win anything, but why not? And matched three numbers, which due to the fortune of roll down, which apparently is a thing, meant that I want some money on the lottery. Yay! So I immediately went, oh, hang on a second. What? Imperial Assault expansions. Because I have been busy watching all the Imperial Assault expansions disappear from people's web stores. Kind of going, oh no! So I kind of ticked the right. I kind of got hold of okay. These are the ones I desperately want. Right. So right, let's get those ordered. So yeah, did that Boxing Day. Apparently they're coming tomorrow.
Hey.
So got a couple of Imperial Assault expansions and the associated waves of expansion figures to go with them. That was it Bespin's Gambit and Twin Shadows, I think it is. Which are kind of the only two. I mean, there are two other expansions. There was Heart of the Empire, and was it the one with Commander Thrawn in it?
Yeah.
Which I must admit, I'm not overly fussed about. Apparently, the Heart of the Empire campaign is meant to be really good, so I might consider that. But I've got a lot of the stuff which covers the classic, which covers the classic Star Wars, if you like.
Yes.
Or the, of the Star Wars films that exist. Or at least in my brain, they're the only other ones that exist. And let's not go there, shall we? So there we go. So yeah, that was So I have hobby purchased since.
Cool. I don't think I have. I've been pretty good.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. I've been a bit busy though, so I felt like
well, as I say, you've been. No, it was one of these things of. It has to be said. This one of these things was, having received some funds, it was a case of I just went to one of the web stores where I'd already saved my my basket and went buy now with the contents of the basket already in place. Yes,
there's lovely.
So thank you to the National Lottery for funding my gaming habit for the next next few months. It was a nice surprise, but there we go. So hobbying? Got any hobbying?
No. Bit of painting, nothing. Everything's sort of been on hold over this entire Christmas period.
Well, yes, due to obvious reasons with some, yes.
A fairly sickly mother.
Indeed.
Thanks, Mum, for ruining my hobby all over December. No, you're welcome. I can say that now because she's getting better.
Yes, no, it's good news, mate.
Yeah.
That she's on the way to recovery. I haven't done a lot. The regular hobby has been interrupted by going to see films. So on two consecutive hobby nights, we went to see a new Star Wars film. and then we did something completely crazy on Friday night and drove to Leeds to watch Aliens.
As you do.
As you do. Because Royal Army was showing Aliens, but they had a talk beforehand about all the props and arms and armour and various other bits and pieces. Plus, they've got a new gallery that's opened with a whole load of movie props that they because it's just something they've got in. It's just something they kind of got into over the past couple of years. So. Yes, the other thing was some really nice stuff. I think actually the most interesting thing that was there was okay. So they got they have one of the original M4 pulse rifles. Now that one is away in a display case. Okay. But they do. On the night they had one of the airsoft ones to handle. But interestingly, the pulse rifle is actually based as a kind of like a chassis for the weapon, because obviously it was made at a time before 3D printing. They used a Thompson submachine gun.
Oh, right.
And they actually had They were displaying some some of the movie props they had, but one of the things they had was that, okay, so this is the pulse rifle, and this is what's underneath it, and they actually had a proper, whatever you call it when they basically take the firing pin out or what have you, proper Thompson, okay. Circa 1940s. I was massively surprised how heavy a Thompson machine gun is.
They are pretty heavy.
What's the phrase? It's a solid piece of kit. Primarily metal, as opposed to wood, and good grief, you certainly know you can't in one of those around. So that was really interesting. So anyway, so no gaming except a couple of party games, and no painting done. I'm thinking at the point, that's going to be for the new year. Let's kick off painting into the new year. I might get some done later today. Let's wait and see what happens, because other things might happen in the meantime.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. But very little done.
Oh, I just thought I did buy something over the holiday.
Did you?
I did a cheeky little Vanguard order.
Only a little one.
Only a little one. As well, it came in a little box.
Yeah, but it's 6mm. You can't get away with it came in a little box. It's with 6mm. You don't buy by the box size. You buy by the weight.
It was a small little box. But I just picked up some bits because I'm sort of painted up again. So I painted up some of the Space Wolves. So I've done like 100 Terminators. I've gone quite Terminator heavy on this Space Wolf army.
I have noticed.
Yeah.
Yes. So you're basically doing a full company.
There's about 200 odd Terminators of various types. But yeah, I just picked up a few bits, and Ralph wanted to have a look at some of their bugs, that the 15mm bugs that they do. So I picked him up a pack of that, and I got some other ones just to top up what I was doing.
Excellent.
But that's about it, really. No purchasing, no real gaming. Got some Thracians, got some Persians. It's all good.
Cool. Right. So, at that point, I think what we'll do is we will take a quick break. And when we come back, it'll be time to get into the main meat of the show and chat about our gaming review of the year.
Yay!
So, over a long number of years, the podcast has been sponsored by two fat lardies, Rich and Nick. What a great couple of guys. Seriously.
great couple of guys.
Indeed. Yeah.
Well, one of them is. The other one's a complete waste of space. And don't get me started on Sid. You know, he puts it all on. He's not really a lord. No. Charlatan, mate. Complete charlatan.
This was going to be such an effusive final advert for Two Fat Lardies, and Hobbsy, you've just gone and ruined it. What can I possibly say?
Okay. Can we just do their best bits then? Let's do the best bits of the Lardies.
The best bits of the Lardies. Yes. Go to their store, buy everything. Because
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they have got some of the best wargaming games out there, especially for tabletop wargaming, and massively well supported by a host of scenarios, which are thoroughly researched, and although they're aimed for particular, for particular games, especially with the wealth of historical research that's gone into them. I mean, they're just useful to pick up for any gaming system and just adapt them. If you don't play Chain of Command or Sharp Practice or what have you, you could still. It's well worth getting on the scenarios. And let's face it, a lot of their campaigns are, it's pennies. I mean, they're called pint-sized campaigns for a reason. So well worth getting hold of.
Indeed.
And of course, there is of course that splendiferous supplement for Sharp Practice. The War of 1812, which was it's a remarkable piece of it's a remarkable supplement, and is well worth an investment.
Indeed, especially the intro, which was written by a very well-known gaming celebrity. But when you look at the Lardies, people think, oh, it's Chain of Command, Lion Bin Shopman, and Sharp Practice. But you look at their shop, we have Chain of Command, Sharp Practice, Dux Britanniarum, Iron Bean Shopman, Through the Mud and the Blood, What a Tanker, Kiss Me Hardy, Bag the Hun, If the Lord Spares Us, Charlie Don't Serve, Kriegspiel, the original game. They couldn't hit an elephant, Trying for the Will, Troops, Weapons and Tactics, Lefu Sacra, 3rd edition, Quadrant 13, Augustus to Aurelian, The Rift War. Plus stuff.
And the coming soon-ish.
Easter, I've heard.
Oh yeah, Easter. Yes, of course, yeah. Easter. Infamy. I'm so glad they kept that title. So I am so glad they kept that title. Yes, and not only that, but they have a fantastic podcast.
Well, it's okay.
It's
all right.
Yeah, I mean, there's the odd episode which is brilliant because it's because it's featured a really good co-host. Yeah, but they have a really good podcast, and also a great YouTube channel with all sorts of supporting material, whether it's playthroughs, where sometimes they even get the rules right. I think it's even more entertaining when you have a situation where they're playing a game and then you get an interjection or a caption coming up actually saying, "Well, actually, at this point, this rule is wrong," and stuff like this. We suddenly realise that yes, Rich just made that up at the time. But no, seriously, brilliant. Set of YouTube channels, really informative. Richie's terrain making and painting stuff is just brilliant. You do realise just how good Rich is at this hobby. Not just rules writing, but when he starts building terrain and all the stuff he goes through. I mean, huge, fantastic hobby resource. Two Fat Lardies. Go and have, watch, buy, play. Brilliant.
Yeah. In that order. And if you're going to buy something off them, I can highly recommend the Lard Magazine 2019.
Oh, indeed,
available
yes.
for a miserly sum of £6.60.
Indeed.
Coming in at 190 pages, packed full of stuff.
And while you're there, if you missed it last year, buy the 2018 edition as well.
And before that, you can get the summer and Christmas
Holiday specials, indeed.
Holiday specials, yes, which go back till 2004.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in them.
Oh yeah, packed full of interesting articles, scenarios, campaigns, extra rules, all sorts of stuff.
And the one from this year's Lardy special, which has caught my eye, is the longest yomp. Where my good friend Johan Davis John, not John or Joan, Johan, has done a Chain of Command expansion for the Falklands.
Oh wow!
Now that tickles them. That could be interesting.
A couple of people do interesting figure ranges for the Falklands. I can think of one immediately off the top of my head.
Yes, but they don't sponsor us, so we're not going to tell you who they are.
I'm sure Soapy would be pleased by that. Besides, I thought Lord S owned your soul.
No, he sold it off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Lodged some beer money, so he sold my soul. But enough of that. Two Fat Lardy, best gaming company out there. They know about history, they know about games, and they know how to support their stuff.
Very much so. twofatlardies.co.uk. Look them up on YouTube. Have fun.
And tell them we sent you.
Indeed. And Nick, Rich, Sid are a fantastic set of guys. And it has been a pleasure to get to know them. Yeah. So, yeah. Go check them out.
And now we'll have a quick montage of their finest parts. If I may begin. 6 inches, Sarge. It's over 6 inches. Oh, Mr. Fondler, you are so prominent. I must get through to Sergeant Watson's position. I can't remember anymore.
I think there was something about sausages.
Sausages! We've cooked you some sausages!
Which is bizarre, especially when you find out, because whenever you comment about Richie's breakfast, he comes back and says, "I'm not overly fond of sausages."
And also, if you happen to meet Rich at any gaming show, ask him about the secret advert that he recorded but was never released for What a Tanker. It involves a ukulele. I don't think even Neil's heard this one.
You'd be right there. I'm intrigued.
What a tanker! Oh, what a tanker!
So was that Nick or Sid on lead vocal?
Oh, it was a certain ukulele player called George Foreman. Me.
Okay, I think we should be forced to. We shall force him to dig that one out. Okay, right. I shall look forward to that. Right, shall we move on?
I think we should.
Excellent stuff. So we're back with our gaming review of 2019. Now, this is something we normally do each year. Where we look back on what we've been playing over the last 12 months. So this is not our favourite game that was released in 2019, but rather our favourite games that we played during the last year. So it could be games from last year. It could be new games. It could be older games. But it's some of our top games that we played during the year. So we have 5, and normally we compare lists. This year, we haven't been quite that organised.
No, I'm not going to bother.
No. So we'll just go for it, and if we end up, if you end up mentioning something that's high on somebody else's list, I'm sure we'll just go, oh, that's on my list a bit further up, and then we'll just kind of go, right, okay, we'll leave it till then.
Cool.
Right, okay. So, do you want to go first? With your number 5?
Very kind of you. Okay, my number 5 of my top 5 for 2019 is Adeptus Titanicus, the new version.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've only played it once properly with other people, but I've soloed it a couple of times, and it's a great game. You know, it harkens back to the original game from way back in the day, in the late 80s. It's got amazing figures. It's got really interesting rules. It's very attritional, and you really get the idea of having to manage your resources on these great big stompy robots that aren't robots because they're driven by humans. But I love it. I love everything about it. I just like the scale of it. I like the figures, I like the rules. Yeah, it's just, for me, it's a fantastic big stompy robot, even though they're not robots, they're driven by humans, game. So that's my number 5.
Excellent. Well, my number 5 is a recentish game, and it's one of 3 games in my top 5 that feature an app. The first one is U-Boot, which is a submarine simulator. Now, it's app-driven in the fact of basically the app controls what happens during the game. You program it. You basically start at a location, and then you key in your navigation and where you're going and what speed you're travelling at, and the app starts basically throwing stuff at you. So it's a cooperative game with 4 people. You play members of a U-boat crew. So it's the it's a Type 7, which was the most numerous U-boat of World War II. The game is set between 1941 and 1943. So you can either do one-off missions or you can do full patrols. So you've got one person plays a captain, one's the first officer, one's a navigator, and the 4th one is the chief engineer. And you control various crew members that have responsibilities. And so it's a bit like a cooperative game of silent service. If you remember the old the old computer game. It's a wonderfully evocative game. I mean, it's massively entertaining, but it's quite, sometimes it's really strange. It's got like a game that we had was basically spent 2 hours trying to find something to attack, followed by 15 and 20 minutes of frantic activity whilst you're attempting to actually maneuver in such a way that you can either torpedo or end up firing on your target. And you kind of think, well, hang on, 2 hours, 2 hours spent trying to find something. Isn't that a bit boring? Well, no. It's just a wonderfully evocative I mean, it is a simulation game. So it is a little bit of routine. Mass panic while an attack happens. Back to routine, and even just things as well. You'd think such straightforward things as navigating your way around the North Sea.
Mm.
Yeah, ain't as easy as what you think it is. No, it's just a really well implemented simulation game for a U-boat crew. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Huge amounts of fun. I think it's got to be a game that you've got to be in the mood for. And actually, everybody at the table buys into it. But if you all do it and all enter into the spirit of the game, tremendous fun. So that's U-Boot. I think it's Phalanx Games, but don't quote me on that. Okay,
no.
That's my number 5. So how about your number 4, sir?
Well, this is where things get a bit odd, because this actually shows how my hobby has changed, because my number 4 is a board game.
Ooh.
Which would have been unknown a few years back. But it is Zombicide Black Plague, which earlier in the year I fell into a massive rabbit hole with Zombicide because I played it. I thought, I kept hearing about Zombicide, and I thought I might give it a go. I think it was around my birthday. I had some money, so I thought I'd buy the Black Plague box, have a look at it. And I loved it. Played it a few times, really enjoyed it. Then went a bit mad about Green Horde and pretty much every single expansion I could find, because the figures are fantastic and the rules are fun. It just sort of works as a medieval mad zombie infested game. It just works a treat. The original version, which is sort of set in modern times, is like, it's like Walking Dead, game. Never appealed to me, but this one just ticks boxes, and yeah, I love it. I really enjoy the whole feel of, oh god, it's getting worse. It can't get much worse. Oh god, it's got much worse. We're never going to get out of here. Oh, we might get out of here. No, we're going to die. Aspect of the game. So yeah, it's by Kumin or not, I think, isn't it? It's a C1 game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. It's just a fun to play board game with fantastic miniatures and nice, simple rules and just little tweaks to make it really interesting. So yeah, Zombicide, Black Plague.
Yeah, it's grown on me. It has to be said. Yes, since we played it a couple of times since, and it is growing on me.
Yeah.
I'd certainly agree with you that in comparison with the modern version, there's something about medieval zombies that is more appealing.
Yeah, and when you look at sort of like the Green Horde version of it, where you've got lots of sort of zombie orcs running around, they've got rules in there for using big dragons and siege engines and massive zombies which are sort of piling up off table ready to appear, which you also need to try and manage before they invade. And it's just great, really fun little game.
Excellent stuff.
And how about your number 4?
And my number 4 comes off the back of, I think, one of my favourite gaming experiences of 2019. So back in February of this year, we met up at Firestorm Games. And so, who was it? Right, okay, so there was the aforementioned Johan, Mr. Hobbs,
yep,
myself, Mr. Dave Hickman, Mr. Matt Slade, and Fraser. And we all played a game which was hosted and run by the one and the only Mr. Ralph Plowman. We had a game of Nemesis.
I'll go stop you there because that might be higher up in my list.
Okay, in that case then, we'll come back to that. Crikey, hang on, more than one board game on your list. Oh my word.
Yes.
Right, in that case then, let's go to your number 3.
Well, my number 3 is a game that I first played last February in Forest Home Games. It was... Yeah, it's Nemesis. Go on, you go first. Now I've destroyed your flow.
No, I mean, obviously everyone knows, who listened to the show, know about the whole issue with the fact that, I backed One Wave Shipping, and so played the Nemesis, ended up playing Nemesis, as eventually, I know, due to one delay or another, ended up playing Nemesis 9 months before I actually got my own copy. Just a fantastic semi-cooperative game. Based on a loose kind of meld between, the general idea of something like Alien and Aliens, okay, in the fact of you're on a ship, you're attempting to escape a ship, or attempting to, and it's infested with more than one alien creature. It's actually one of a number of these games that have come out this year. Lifeform from All or Nothing, which almost made the list, being one of the others. Now that is very much that's like single alien, and that is fully cooperative. Funny enough, that game. So I'm not quite sure whether you'd like that one, Mr. Hobbs. I don't think you get on with it quite so much. But Nemesis, seems to appeal to certain people because you can cooperative. You can cooperate with everybody else, or you can play sod everybody else. And I'm out for myself. Thank you very much. Which the game actually allows you to do. Plus the fact you also end up in a situation where, thankfully, there is it does cater for player elimination in the fact of if you just so happen to die, like I did, that player then gets to play the aliens, which is a huge amount of fun. Because up until the point where someone is playing them, the aliens are kind of randomly. They operate randomly. However, when they're driven by a player, you can be really evil with them.
And you were.
I don't know what you mean.
You threw an alien queen at me.
Indeed, I did. At least I didn't shoot you.
No.
No, I mean, yes, the rumours that I was out to get Mike during the game are completely true.
Yeah.
But the game itself is just really good. It's a great set of mechanics. Works really well. And the whole player interaction. It's a sound game. The reason it made the list as well is the fact of just that day and playing with that group of players was just brilliant. As I said, probably one of my favourite gaming experiences of this last year. Huge amounts of fun, and I'm looking forward to getting it to the table again. Mike?
Yes, have you unpacked yours yet?
I've unpacked it.
Oh, good.
Haven't got to play a game yet, and
Oh.
and I was and to be especially once you start getting the fact that with the expansions, because the base game comes with one set of aliens.
Mm.
I now have 3 different sets of aliens. So the game is different with each set of aliens because obviously each alien race operates differently.
Yeah. So it's moved on from the classic, Xenos trope that we've seen on many other games. These different types of aliens all operate differently and have different issues for players to handle. So
indeed,
yeah. I played it now a couple of times. Really like it. I like the sort of randomness or the semi-randomness of the board setup. So the board is always set up slightly differently. It's randomized. I say players have to try and work together at least at the beginning of the game. And it's just great. I was really tempted to buy the whole thing. But then I thought, no, I'll just use rolls.
And it has to. And one thing to mention: the miniatures are fantastic.
Yeah,
it's one of these board games with miniatures, and by Awaken Realms.
Yeah,
and it has to be said, the miniatures they have produced for the game are superb. Even down and some of the expansions, like for example, I got the terrain expansion. Now that includes. Okay, so obviously when you start the game, one of the crew is dead.
Yeah.
Now, normally that's just like a little card token. So in the terrain expansion, you've got dead crew members. So there are 5 different dead crew member tokens, and they're all different, and they all actually represent different models in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you choose your starting character, and then one of the others is dead. And it's little things like that. No. The miniatures are just wonderful. They've done a fantastic job with them.
Yeah, they are good. So, what's your number 3?
Right, my number 3. Again, if you remember when we reviewed it, I can't remember which show it was back on. But it was a game that we reviewed with Mr. Whittaker. Star Wars Imperial Assault. Really got into playing that this year. Primarily thanks, I think, to the app that Fantasy Flight have produced. It means that we've started playing it as a cooperative game. Rather than because you can play it so one player plays the Imperials and everybody else plays the Rebels.
Yeah.
Which makes for an interesting, especially makes for an interesting 2-player game. Of course, it also has a skirmish mode. So it's a kind of hybrid board game, come miniatures game played on the board. But playing it, I've played it several times this year. And it's made me fall in love not only with the game, but also with Star Wars gaming again. I wanted to, having got a load of collection for like X-Wing and stuff, and I must admit, not really played that much this year. Getting into Imperial Assault, really, yeah. I fell in love with it and it's got me back into Star Wars gaming. The app works really well. I love the whole thing of working together as a team, not knowing and no one knowing what's coming next. Because it's something that obviously the app drives as far as the app drives the Imperials, so you're never 100% sure what's coming.
Yeah,
I love that idea, but no, it's just Star Wars miniatures game. Love it. I mean, one of the plans for next year is to get Legion sorted and get Legion on the table. But in the meantime, especially since again as a board game, it's instantly accessible. I wasn't going to get it, and then found a copy on sale at Partisan, a second hand, and yes, have fallen down the rabbit hole. Finally decided, yes, I will get it, and it's one of those things you kind of get it and think, why did I wait so long to get into this game?
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. So my number 3, Star Wars Imperial Assault.
Can we say I told you so?
Yeah. You can say I told you so.
Good.
I must admit, at the time, I know at the time I kind of went, no, I'll wait and I'll just play Legion.
Mm-hmm.
No, you were right.
We were right.
I was wrong.
We were all right.
Yes, you did tell me so. I was a silly boy. I should have listened to you at the time.
You should have done.
And not so I now would not be in the panic that I'm now in. that there may be certain figures that you cannot get a hold of, and there is no truth in the rumor that I've just bought a German version of a German version of a figure because I don't want to pay 60 quid for the English one.
Which one?
Is it Captain Varro? It's the Imperial Trooper on a dewback.
Oh yeah.
You cannot. Basically, I had that figure has just like sold out everywhere, but I managed to get hold of a German version of Amazon for what you would normally expect to pay for the figure. But it's just that because it's one of these things that the cards to play the figure are actually in Jabba's realm, but the figure comes with its own. Now, admittedly, I think it does come with a separate kind of scenario, which obviously is in German, so I probably won't be able to use it. But all the cards for the that come with the miniature are in Jabba's realm. So it was just a case of saying, well, I want the miniature as opposed to using, basically a card token.
Yeah. Excellent.
There we go. So yes, Imperial Assault. Cool. So are we on to number 2s?
We are. Oh, we're rushing for this. So my number 2 is a game that we played a lot at the beginning of the year, and that is Rangers of Shadow Deep.
Good choice.
So our Tuesday night gaming club, where I meet up with Matt down in the forest of Endor, as it is, and Ralph and Mark, and we all meet up and we play games. And for a long period of time, we played Rangers, and we did 2 out of 3 of the campaigns altogether, and it was great. We have covered it on the show, but it's a cooperative game, and we did play cooperatively, which is unlike me. It just worked. You've got the mechanic where the monsters or the enemy sort of act in a semi-intelligent manner. You've got objectives that you've got to carry out per scenario. The campaigns slot together really well, and it just gives you this whole idea of going off on an adventure. So it's very sort of RPG light. And it just works as a game. It's just lovely mechanics. I don't know. It feels different to Frostgrave because I never got on with Frostgrave. But this just uses pretty much the same mechanics, but this one works oddly, and it was just fun. Every game was just howls of laughter as we just chuckled as one of us got mangled by the enemy, whilst the rest looked on. Because obviously finishing the scenario is much more important than trying to save each other. But yeah, it's just great. Really, really fun game, atmospheric, fun to play, which I've said a few times now. Easy to set up, minimal terrain needed, couple of figures, and you just track this little character as it sort of progresses through the campaign. Great fun. Hours and hours and hours of fun.
Really looking forward to getting it to the table. One of the frustrations I think of this year is that we haven't managed to get to play that yet. Despite the fact that actually I've painted a load of stuff for it. So yeah, looking forward to getting that onto the table in 2020. And there is a brand new version of the rulebook coming out.
Yeah.
Which is currently up for pre-order, either from Modifius or from Northstar. So yes, new version of the main rulebook coming out, and yeah, excellent game.
Yeah,
well worth a look, and I think it's due to go from strength to strength in 2020.
Yeah, because I think when it came out, it was on print on demand.
Yes.
Because I don't think anybody expected it to take off, but it just, it was so different to anything else out there. I think it took probably Joe by I don't think he expected it to be as popular as it was. So the fact it's gone onto a pop print run now, I think it's still the same game. I think they've just put everything together, but it's now available in a book that you can just pick up in a gaming store. So,
yeah, and also I think it's going to be a case of they've introduced, with the new edition, they've introduced an extra difficulty factor to try and scale the game better for when you're playing with 3 or 4 players. Essentially, they're making the game slightly harder. Basically, you can get.
We kept dying.
Well, apparently you were dying on easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Good stuff. No, it's well worth checking out, and they have an expanding range of official miniatures, which are very nice. Indeed. Yes. Got some nice ones coming out in the new year as well. So cool. Right.
And yours?
My number 2. A recent game. Well, a recent game that I've played. Thanks and 2 thanks. One goes to Classic Soldier Company for actually giving me a review copy of the base game, and also then to Sean Randall. Hello, Sean. Thank you for reviewing the game and encouraging me to say get out and play this more, because it is really that good. It's a game that has let me fall in love with the Command and Colour system all over again. That is, of course, Red Alert Space Warfare. It is Command and Colours in space. Big fleet space battles. Great fun. A really good implementation of the Command and Colour system. We did a very in-depth review of the game not so long ago. But yeah, I've fallen back in love with Command and Colours through this game this year. As we said with a lot of them, had a huge amount of fun playing it, both with the Halfling Hickman and also with Josh. All the expansions, the ones we've played so far, all add something useful and interesting to the game. It seems to work intuitively, and just gives a tremendously fun game with a lot of scope for replayability. Especially with some of the Command and Colours games, you have set scenarios, and there's not, although you can replay the scenarios and swap sides, it's a set scenario. So it potentially has a limited amount of replayability depending on how often you want to play a particular battle. Because Red Alert is obviously set in the future, they've changed the way fleet deployment work, and so different game every time. They have loads of scenarios now for the game anyway. Tremendous one. I was not convinced by the models, and to be honest, I'm still not. But all things considered, as an overall, basically as an overall game, been very impressed with Red Alert, and short of going something kind of full-on miniatures like Full Thrust, it's a game that makes big fleet battles that feel like fleet battles gaming achievable, and it looks great on the table. It really does.
Yeah.
So yeah, that my number 2, Red Alert.
Excellent. Yeah, I haven't picked that one up. I'm sort of I'm an hour about it.
It has to be said. It is interesting. I mean, someone said to me, and to be fair, even when because I didn't go into the Kickstarter when it came up. I can't remember if it was the start of this year or the back end of last year, because I kind of balked a little bit at the price, because it is top end as far as I mean, basically when you got the base game is £100, and when you've got a potential question mark over some of the ship sculpts, you understand why they are designed the way they are, but you kind of go, ooh, I don't know. However, when they did, for example, what they did with their Black Friday sale, when they were selling it as I can't remember whether it was 40% or 60% off.
60% off, I think it was.
Yes, 60% off. That's one of those no-brainer moments when you kind of go, wow, okay, yeah. So yeah, keep an eye open for it. Because even if you don't want to pay full price, they do offers at shows, and what have you, and I was reticent to get into it at full price because it is top end. It is top end of what I want, especially for as I deemed it a Commander in Colours game. However, it's a very, very good implementation of a Commander in Colours game, possibly one of the best. So yeah, that's why it's up there on my number 2. But
cool.
I fully understand your reticence in getting into it, because I was in the same boat. But ultimately, I'm glad that I did.
So it's that big moment. It's the number ones.
Number ones. I'm intrigued, Mr. Hobbs. What is your number 1 game of the year? As if I didn't know.
Okay, so what do you think it is?
What do I think it is? I think it's RuneQuest.
Interesting. Well, it's not a war game. It's not a board game. It's not a living card game. It is a role-playing game. But it's Warhammer Fantasy 3rd edition.
Wow, okay. You went for the other one.
Yep. So, why do I like this game? Okay, so it's a role-playing game. So, Warhammer Fantasy role-playing, been 4 editions now, came out in 80s, early 80s. First two editions were a pretty standard style war game. It's set in the Warhammer Old World, which I love the Warhammer Old World. It's just something about it. It's got so many fantasy tropes dropped in there and mashed around. It's unreal. But I like the Empire in Warhammer. I like this sort of Germanic Renaissance style, land where you've got lots and lots of duchies, and it's that sort of feel to it, with lots of this always lurking underbelly of chaos all over the place. But the third edition was produced by Fantasy Flight about 10 years ago, and it intrigued me because I think it was their first role-playing game that they did, and it had a lot of board game, or no, shall we say, it had a lot of Fantasy Flight in the design.
Yeah.
It's very card heavy. You have cards for everything. And it has this wonderful dice mechanic, this dice pool mechanic with specific symbols on the dice that you're looking for. And I picked it up. I picked up the core game and a few expansions off Aid Deacon. Hi, Aid. Last year. And I was off for a little while when my face decided to go into Bell's palsy and lock up, and I couldn't do anything. So I sat down and I read it, and I really got into it. And I turned round to Ralph and Steve. Hi, Steve, and Mark. And I said, look, I really want to play this, and I really wanted to run it. So it's my first step back as a role player, actually GMing something. The players have really bought into it. We got 3 great players with 3 great characters, and I'm loving it. I'm loving every minute of the games that we're playing. So we got a whole campaign sort of sketched out, which we're working through, and it's just working. Because I think we all came from a sort of board game Fantasy Flight sort of background. We've all played their games. We understand how their games work. For us, it makes the game easy because, when you want to make an attack, you've got a card that you use to make the attack, which has got all the rules on it. So you don't need to learn specific rules for combat. It's all there, which makes it easier. And it's just little things that the cards allow you to do. And I can see why a lot of role players don't like it, because it is different. But for me, it works. I picked up pretty much everything I could find for it, and yeah, I'm absolutely loving the time that we're doing, playing this game. We even got Mr. Slade to play a role playing game, and he never plays role playing games.
Wow, can't say better than that for a game, can you?
No. So yeah, that's my number 1, Warhammer Fantasy Role Playing 3rd edition. And just to say that the 4th edition, which has been out now for about a year, produced by Cubicle 7, again, is well worth picking up. They've gone back to the basics of the game. They're producing some amazing stuff. So if you can't get hold of 3rd edition and you want a sort of more traditional role-playing experience, have a look at the Cubicle 7 stuff, because it's beautiful, well produced, properly researched. They've got some of the original writers of Warhammer back on it, and they're breathing a fresh life into that game. So there we go. That's my number 1.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. Cool. Do you need to get to play that sometime?
Well, I'm been thinking about it. I'll chat to you offline about that. I have a cunning plan.
Excellent. I don't know, we might have a bit of free time next year.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, excellent stuff. Cool. Right. So my number one, perhaps a slightly controversial choice, in the fact of it's an app-driven game, but it is still a board game. It's a game that inspired me to actually paint every figure that I own for it.
So can I guess what it is, sir? Because can I?
Hang on a second. Just given that introduction, yeah, that's not much of a guess, mate.
Hello. Is it Journeys in Middle-earth?
It is indeed Journeys in Middle-earth. The new Lord of the Rings game from Fantasy Flight. Cooperative, app-driven, adventure game, campaign game, taking part in Middle-earth. We have talked about this and slightly disagreed about this over a number of shows. And I fully take on board Mike's criticisms. In the fact of, yes, I fully understand why it kind of sometimes feels more like an adventure game, a fantasy adventure game, as opposed to something that takes place in Middle-earth. So I fully get that, and also, interestingly, you know, why on earth are you playing the likes of Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, when you know in the lore that they're off doing other things? I'm fully on board with that, and it is quite interesting why they've gone that way, especially when you look back at what is effectively a similar game as in Imperial Assault, that we've talked about earlier, where they went along the route of creating character tropes, so unique characters that were not involved in the main canon, but you could also get those characters involved in your games. So whilst you weren't playing the likes of Luke Skywalker or Han Solo, they could turn up in your games. So I get that that criticism of the game. I fully understand it. That said, two reasons why this is my number one. One is the fact that it is one of the, I think, other than Gloom of Kilforth? Oh, sorry, wrong game. Other than Gloomhaven.
Gloomhaven, yeah.
Which is the other game, the game that I played more than this year. Journeys in Middle-earth is the game that I have played most in 2019. However, the big thing is that this has been a game that I have played with Josh for most, well, since it came out. I can't remember when it came out. We were probably looking April, I think it was.
Yeah, about that.
But we have played almost 2 full campaigns together. And we are fully planning on doing another one with the remaining characters. And it is a game that we have thoroughly enjoyed playing together. Playing games with Josh has been very precious to me. More so as you know, time has moved on and he's got a bit older and really got into gaming, more so than he ever has before. And this year it has been tremendous amounts of fun playing games with Josh. This is the one we played the most of, and I think it's one of the ones we've had the most fun playing together. I do love the game mechanics. It's a very different game in the fact of it's a deck builder, and it's a card-driven game. So it's very different from the likes of Imperial Assault. So it's not dice driven at all. But there are a good number of decisions to be made in it, and I find the scenarios really interesting. And again, it's that thing of playing a game together where you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen, because the app is driving the scenario. Everybody, I've not just played it with Josh. I played it with a few with Dave and Rich, and that just that whole thing of being in the same boat, where we're all dealing with a situation that the game is throwing at us, which none of us actually know what's going on, and trying to deal with whatever the scenario is. I really enjoy that, and the whole fantasy setting. The miniatures are good.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the best in the world, but they're decent. I've really enjoyed painting them. So I really got inspired to paint them, and I've enjoyed painting them this year. And yeah, it's not just the game. The game has been good, but the experience of playing the game, especially with Josh, has been made it the best thing this year. So that's why. Journeys in Middle-earth. I'm looking forward to them bringing out more expansions for the game. I think it's it's quite interesting in the fact that one of the criticisms has been the people go, the lack of variety of creatures, for example. And I know the response has been,
it's Middle-earth.
You have read. It's like it's Middle-earth.
Yeah.
You have read Tolkien, haven't you? It's like orcs, humans, wargs. They haven't got giant spiders in the game yet. Trolls. There's not a huge variation in the bad guys. But yeah, it's yes. D&D it is not.
No.
But it has been a tremendously fun, exciting gaming experience this year. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Sure. So, any extra ones you want to drop in, sort of honorable mentions?
Oh,
keep it short because it's 11 o'clock.
I was going to say, we really haven't got much time for this, considering what we have left to do before lunchtime. I think Gloomhaven is a definite honourable mention. Played that a lot this year. Not so much in the second half of the year. We've had issues getting together, and that potentially is the downfall. Gloomhaven is it's like a board game version of an RPG.
Yeah.
Love the game mechanics, but it's a major commitment to play. We've played it 24, so we've had like 24 gaming sessions, and when you consider each gaming session is 3 hours, we played it a lot this year. But it's a major investment in time, and we still haven't finished the campaign. So that is worth walking into, but it has been a lot of fun. Escape the Dark Castle has been a great game to discover this year. I know we kind of played it last year, and we followed it up. That's a really nice kind of quick pick me up game to play. I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think for me, there's two World War II games which sort of spring to mind, which I played a bit this year. Battle Group. We've been playing on the 15mm stuff. Me, Jeff and Jeff. Hi, Jeff and Jeff. I just like the mechanics of it. It's a fun game, tactical. really interesting game. But, for me, the outstanding World War II game of this decade, and probably the best one I think I've ever played, is Chain of Command. It's, it's just fantastic. It's a game that continues to infuriate me, because it either goes really well or really badly. There's no middle ground for me in Chain of Command. But it's just a game that constantly makes you think of command decisions that you need to make. And for a World War II game, that's exactly what you want. So, yeah, great game.
Agreed. More of which perhaps shortly. Okay, so that is our top games of 2019. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we thought we'd do a quick extra section, which is because, especially since it's our last Meeples and Miniatures, we thought we'd take our top 3 games of all time. So, back in a minute. Over the last year, we've been very proud to be sponsored by a fantastic hobby store. That is Firestorm Games. Happens to be Mike's FLGS, so I shall let him say a couple of words about it.
Thank you, Neil. Yes, what can you say about Firestorm Games that hasn't already been said a million times? Good stock, good staff, good venue, lots of space. All of that is true. Excellent food. They have a bar. They'll pretty much sell anything you want. But the thing that I like mostly about Firestorm Games is their integrity. You see, when something new comes out and there's a buzz about it, I know of I've heard horror stories of people going around going, oh, well, I pre-ordered it, but I didn't get it because they couldn't get it from the manufacturer. Firestorm Games never does that. Because Firestorm Games contacts the manufacturer, finds out how many they can get of a certain product, keeps them aside for sale on the day for people who walk in the shop, and then put the rest on pre-order. And when they've gone, they stop the pre-orders. Which means that when you order up Firestorm Games, you're gonna get it. Okay, they may not do the massive discounts that some stores do. They always do a flat 10%, which is a very reasonable discount, I think. But you're gonna get your product. And you're gonna get it well packed, on time. And you're gonna, they keep you up to date with what's going on. For me, they are the perfect game store. They're the store that I go to first, but whenever I want to buy anything, because I trust them. And, when you take that alongside everything else that they got in the bricks and mortar venues, it's a perfect place. So, I wouldn't go anywhere else, and I don't think you should either.
There we go. And until the end of 2019, say perhaps if you
2 days time.
2 days time, yes, yes. All being well, this show will go up on Sunday. So in 2 days time, if you use the code Santa Meeple, you will get an extra 5% off. But that expires on the 31st of December. So that's only available until the end of 2019. But huge thank you to Firestorm Games. It is a fantastic venue. I haven't been down there half as much as I would like to. Because, I was going to say, it is in Wales. I mean, obviously they now have a store in Swindon. As well as Newport.
Mm-hmm.
So they are available in other parts of the country. But the South Wales Gaming Centre is a hugely impressive place. Yes, I would endorse everything Mr. Hobbs has said. So thank you guys. It has been a pleasure gaming at you, and thank you so much for sponsoring the show. So, because, as we said, it's the last Meeples and Miniatures, we thought we'd do our top games of all time.
Yeah.
Yes, in their current form. Now, we agreed to do a top 3.
Yeah, top of that.
And then Michael came back and said, well, can we do a top 5 because I've got 5. I must admit, I've got 3 written down. I could possibly do a couple off the top of my head. But let Mike. Yeah, go on. Okay, Mike, kick off. What's your number 5?
Number 5. Okay, I'll do these 2 quickly. Okay. My number 5, World War II game from back in the day, Battlefront World War II. Came out ages ago. The reason this is in my top 5 is I think I had the best gaming weekend ever using this game, where we did the Battle of Breville, which is just fought after D-Day, with 8 players. It took a weekend. There was an awful lot of eating, drinking, and merriment halfway through, and it's one of those games that will stick in my mind forever. So, and it's a damn good game. It's an intense game, but it's a damn fine game. So that's my number 5. Number 4, space game, Battlefleet Gothic by GW. I just love it. I know it's really a Napoleonic ship game at its heart, but I don't care. It had great models. It was fun to play. And I had 5, 6 fleets at one stage, and I foolishly sold them all off, thinking, and I'll never play this again. But now I really want to play it again.
No. You did a Shuck.
I did do a Shuck. That is my greatest gaming regret of all time, is selling off my Battlefleet Gothic. So luckily I haven't sold the rules. So yeah, great game.
Cool. Okay, my number 4. Because
you've got a 4 now. You've looked at that.
Yeah. Well, I thought there was one that was almost a 3, but
Okay.
It's a 4. Okay, probably my current favourite board game, and that's because every time you play it, it is not a game; it's an experience. Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. Yes, it's an app-driven game. But cool. I mean, based on a fantastic mythos, Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
It's just an awesome world. But then when you're it's adventure scenario in an awesome world, a game that you do not even if you play a scenario multiple times through, it changes each time you play. You have no idea, especially when you're playing for the first time. You have no idea what the game is going to throw at you. It's very much a case of, right, okay, this is the situation, go. So for a board game, it's one of the I know playing. We got to play role play Call of Cthulhu earlier this year, and that was brilliant. This is, I think, is the next best thing to it. Everybody in the same boat. It's a game that is genuinely creepy, and a game that at some point is going to kick your backside something rotten. And I have had tremendous fun every time I have played it. Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. Yeah. Fantastic implementation. I think it's the best implementation I have come across of an app-driven game.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Cool. Number 3 then.
Number 3. So what's your number 3 then, mate?
It's RuneQuest. So I got into RuneQuest originally back in 1980. Loved it then. It was the game that sort of spawned off the basic role play mechanics, shall we say, which is a system that's been used in numerous games and it's just great. I got reintroduced to it thanks to Dirk Dice and the Grognard files. Oh, hail, great Grognard. There's the new version which has come out by KSC, which has just lifted the game and taken it back to its roots. It's taken it back to Greg Stafford's wonderful Gloranthan world. The books are beautiful. The system is beautiful. You get immersed in this really weird setting, which has been described as, sort of standing at the foothills of a large mountain when you sort of start looking at Glorantha. But as a background, it's so deep, so unusual. And the system itself is great. For me, it is probably the perfect role-playing experience. So, yeah, RuneQuest. I love it.
Cool. So, my number 3, it's the game that got me back into gaming. I started in World War II with Operation Warboard, moved into role-playing with D&D, and then stopped playing games. And I bought this game off the back of seeing Aliens in the cinema. It's a Games Workshop game. I still think it's one of the best games they've ever done. Space Hog. A classic asymmetric board game. Introduces Space Marines, introduces Gene Stealers, and yeah, it's not only is it a classic, but I mean it introduced me to the rabbit hole of 40k, which was both a blessing and a curse. But it's the game that got me back into the gaming, and it still stands up, I believe, as a game. Okay, let's move the Gene Stealer expansion to one side, because at the point where it introduced weapons on the Gene Stealer side, I think it kind of jumped the shark just slightly. At its heart, having it as an asymmetric game where you have the hand-to-hand Gene Stealers against the uber-armoured, uber-weapon Space Marines, that's just a classic Horde Wave versus Small Elite game. Interesting scenarios. Yes, the Space Marine player is up against it. But it's still one of my all-time favourite board games and holds a special place in my heart simply because of when I got introduced to it, and it led me back into the gaming hobby. Okay, I've moved on a lot since then, but that was the game that got me back into gaming after I'd finished playing D&D at school and also sold off all my World War II kit. So, number 3, Space Hulk.
Plus, it also had a really, really good computer version.
Never really played the computer. Yes, agreed. It did have a very good computer version. Never really played it.
Yeah, I used to play it quite a lot, and it was just a great sort of port of the game. Space Hulk is a great little game.
Yeah, really pleased to pick up the 3rd edition a couple of years ago, second hand, and one of my ambitions for 2020 is to actually get that fully painted, get that version I've got fully painted. I've even got I bought all the contrast paints for it. So I thought that would be an excellent use of contrast paint. Would be to paint finally get an edition of Space Hulk fully painted, especially with those really nice models from 3rd edition.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
Mm.
Cool. So what's your number 2 then, mate?
Well, this might shock a lot of people.
Ooh.
This was a game that I was introduced to by Mr. Jeffrey Bond. Hello, Jeffrey.
Hello, Jeff.
It's Bag the Hun by the Two Fat Lardies, written by Mr. Nick Skinner. And the reason I've chosen this game is because I've always had a bit of an interest in aerial combat. But I think that interest was more on the sort of sci-fi side of things. I was playing games like Aeronautica Imperialis and things like that. And whilst I looked at sort of historical games, sort of Wings at War, I played a little bit. They always struck me as being quite one-dimensional. It was always just you're in a dogfight and everyone's fighting against everybody else. But then when I picked up Bag the Hun and I played it, and I worked out that you're playing squadrons or squads of planes flying in formation. It changed the whole ethos of what I was playing, because it took it up a level. It took it up to you're trying to keep your little squad of planes together in your formation, and then as you start to get into combat, those formations break up, and you've then got the quality of the pilot shines through. And I found it amazingly interesting. And then on top of that, the rules just cover pretty much every single aspect of aerial combat in World War II. If you want to do a bombing mission, you can do it because the rules are there. If you want to do an attack on a convoy at sea, you can do it. If you want to attack a ground targets, you could do that. If literally everything is in there. Night attacks, flak, everything. It's all in there. And by playing it in 1/600, using tumbling dice miniatures, it's cheap as chips. For less than a tenner, you can probably get both sides for a game. I've been chatting to Jeff online a bit about getting back into it, and we both sort of said that sometimes our biggest problem is we play too big games. Mm-hmm. We play big multiplayer games, where everyone's got loads of ships flying around, and sometimes that can have a detrimental effect because of the way that the turn sequence works and the card-driven sequence. Sometimes you can, players can have a bit of downtime. But we think if we go back to just playing with a handful of squadrons, whatever you want to call them, 6 planes each, we're probably going to get a more pure version of the game. And we want to go back in and just play it basic, and then start to ramp it up and try the different rules in there and try different scenarios. And for that reason, and that reason alone, it's my number 2 game of all time. I absolutely adore it. I can't thank Nick enough for bringing this game out. So, Bag the Hun from Two Fat Lardies. Buy it. It gets 2 thumbs up from me.
Cool. Excellent stuff. I really need to play that game. I've got it. Funny enough, I've got all the planes for the Battle of Britain.
I don't doubt that for a second.
I'm not quite sure exactly where they are. They're in a box somewhere.
It'd be a very small box.
Yes, they're in a very small box, yes. But, But yes, a game I've really got to play. Yes. It's one of those games where I got everything for it, including a hex mat, and then I never really got around to playing it. But there we go. Funny enough, I own one or two of those. But there we go. Anyway, yes, I shall look forward to being introduced to that at some point. My number 2, probably over the core of the time I have spent on the show. I know this because I looked at Board Game Geek. Because yes, I am that sad person who has records back that far on games that I have played. Probably my most played board game. Except it's a hybrid game because it's a board game of a war game.
It's not Excellus, is it?
No. I could have had that as I thought actually potentially that could have been my number 5 at the time. I mean, I know at the time you had to mention it.
I did, yeah.
You just had to go there.
Yeah.
I was doing so well.
You were doing so well.
I could
pull us together, Shuck.
Sorry. No, my number 2, Command and Colors Ancients. Fast play, ancient gaming. Gives a really good feel for the period. Somewhat, it's abstracted, but it really scratches the itch.
Mm.
And I have played Command and Colors Ancients well over a couple 100 times. Including that does include the Vassal variant. I did actually I was playing somebody on Vassal, and we were basically playing through everything. But it's accessible. It gives whilst abstract, it gives, I believe, a good feel for the period, or at least gives some idea of some of the tactical nuances involved and some of the issues surrounding different types of troops. Yes, it's a hand management game as well, but obviously that's part of the tactics. Are there better implementations of the C&C system? Yes, there are. However, this was one of the first I played, the one I have played the most, and the one I have had some of the most fun with. So, Command the Colors Ancients. I'd like to go and revisit it. As I say, I mean, there are expansions of it I haven't that I've got that I haven't played. It's not often that the one thing with ancient gaming, obviously, is that it can potentially, take it. It can be logistically quite a nightmare. With C&C Ancients, you can play an ancient war game twice in an evening, fit it on a kitchen table, and at the same time feel that you've played an ancient war game.
Yeah.
So I love all the itches it scratches for, and yes, a deceptively simple game that I am excellent at losing. Simply because I cannot resist. As As Mr. Love at one point said, when will you ever learn that ancient cavalry are not knights? Just because it says medium or heavy cavalry doesn't mean, yes, it doesn't mean what it says on the tin. Yeah, I've had a tremendous amount of fun over a number of years playing CNC Agents. From its not only the enjoyability and the longevity of playing the game, but also where it ranks within my game playing pantheon. That's why it's my number 2.
Can I just pull you up on one comment you made there, which I think is a little unfair?
Go on.
You said it's not the best implementation of CNC. I personally think it is the best implementation of an ancient board game out there. Because for me, I know that as they moved on for the different versions, they added in subtle tweaks and little nuances. But for me, Command & Colors Ancient is the pure Command & Colors, and it perfectly captures how I visualize ancient warfare.
I must admit, for me, if they ever did like they did the Generals and Leaders expansion for Napoleonics, if ever they went back and did that for Ancients, that for me would then make it the best CNC implementation. That's the only reason why, because I love that separation of tactics cards and command cards.
Yeah, I get you there. Didn't they do it though in the Epic version? Nope. Didn't they?
The Epic version, and it works the same way as in most of them, where basically you end up with you end up with 4 commanders. You have 1 commander in each section, and then you have an overall general. So the overall general issues out command cards to each to the general in each sector. Can't tell them what to do with it.
Yeah.
Just gives them, and then it's now I have played that version of it on multiple occasions, and that is brilliant.
Yeah, it is. I've done it with Napoleonics.
Yeah, that is. When we were at Scimitar, we played that a lot. Epic scale using miniatures, lots of 20mm plastics actually. But yeah, where we played it with, 4 people aside, and that is a fantastic implementation of the game. So that's a really good. Thank you for reminding me that the multiplayer version of CNC is just superb.
It is. Right, number 1 then, mate.
Number 1. So what's your number 1 then, mate?
Can you guess? Have a guess. See if you can work it out. I'll give you a clue.
Go on.
It involves little baby space marines.
I'd say you shock me.
Yes.
But you really don't.
No. So, yeah. My number 1 game of all time is Epic, or Space Marine as it's called. It was the game that got me into wargaming. Sorry. It's the game that's been with me the longest. It's the game where I still got the old armies for. It's a game where, unsurprisingly, I still have a box of unpainted lead for. Mostly due to Jeff from the Ronva. Hello, Jeff, who gifted me with a whole box of Epic stuff just when I was getting down to my last dregs of figures to paint. I love it. I love everything about it. I love the original game. I went off when it went into Net Epic. Sorry, when it went into Epic for 40k Epic Armageddon, what it was called. Which was unfair because Epic Armageddon, if you look at it with fresh eyes, is a really good little game. I love Net Epic. I love the way the community has kept it going for all these years. I love the figures. I love the rules. I love everything about it. It is, for me, the best sci-fi mass battle game out there. And for me, it always will be. End of sport. That's it. Epic.
Yes, I shouldn't have been shocked by that at all, should I?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
So can you guess what my favourite game is?
No. I'm a bit,
I'm surprised. Because you've already mentioned it.
Oh, Chili Command.
It is.
Yeah.
World War II got me into this hobby. It is, and always has been, my favourite period. My favourite conflict for gaming. I have always enjoyed, more than mass battle games, I've always enjoyed kind of mid-level, platoon-sized, platoon plus sized games. Has always been my favourite level of playing. For me, there has been no better implementation of a World War II game at that level than Chain of Command. And not only that, as Mike said earlier, it presents you with problems that even, you have you have slightly different issues to deal with as you kind of raise go up to company level and higher with other games. Chain of Command seems to encapsulate everything into in a nutshell, in a smaller level game. You don't need a huge number of troops. You probably end up needing more than you think.
Yeah, and you will end up buying a lot more than you think you ever need.
Oh yes, yes, because obviously you need one or multiple of every single support option.
Oh, at least, yeah.
Just in case. Yes. But for me, it is the perfect encapsulation of my favourite period. It's a game I have enjoyed modelling for, creating terrain for, painting miniatures for. It's a game, as you said, can find hugely frustrating. It's a game I've hardly ever won, and yet still be my favourite game. Because, like anything else, it's part of the whole thing is working out. It's working out situations and how things work. Yes, there is always that kind of random frustration of just things just don't go your way. But for me, it is just the perfect war game, and I have always had the biggest amount of fun playing it.
Yeah.
Whoever I've played it with, we've always enjoyed it. It's always been a challenge, and we've always had a blast playing the game. And as I say, especially when it's World War II, which is my all-time favourite period. Hands down, my number one favourite game of all time, Chain of Command.
Yeah. You picked well.
Yeah, so do you, mate. Some interesting and diverse diverse choices amongst that lot.
Yeah, well, I tried to go for games that changed my life, or maybe look at things in a different way, or just, just when I finished playing them for the first time, just like, well, just went like, oh, I gotta play this again. I gotta play this game. So yeah.
Yes, same here. It was very much a case of things that, games that have affected the way I play gaming.
Yeah.
And have had influences on my hobby at the time.
Mm.
So yeah, that really is kind of where I was coming from too. Cool, excellent stuff. So let's take one more quick break, and when we come back, it's time to wrap this whole thing up, shall we?
Yeah.
So there we have it, our gaming review of 2019. Our all-time favourite games. So here we are, at the end of a show. And indeed, at the end of something of an era, I suppose.
Just give me some background music. I don't know, I'm doing the French national anthem.
I thought you should be doing the last post or something.
It kind of started off that way when it did the French national anthem.
So before we go, I'd like to raise a glass to you, Mike. Stop it.
Okay.
You see. Normally, you see, dear listener.
Yes, we edit it out.
I'd edit this out.
Yeah.
Yes. This sort of thing happens all the time. You just never get to hear it. This is what I have to deal with. Oh dear.
You just lower my volume down a bit. It'd be fine.
It'll be fine. Okay.
It'd be really atmospheric.
It'll be really atmospheric, and no one will be able to hear you at all, because obviously one of the constant complaints has been Mike's been too quiet on the show again.
Yeah. Which I reckon is you just lowering my volume down.
There have been some technical issues which I've always found a little bit difficult to get over. I don't know whether it's just because of the technology we are using to record this podcast, or what. And maybe some people would argue that if only we use Apple, things would be so much better.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, just for you. Apparently, you're starting a new podcast tomorrow.
I'll do it on Tuesday.
So, but yeah, here we are at the end of the show. Well, it's been fun, guys.
Been good.
When I started, I never expected that it would turn into what it is and where we are. It has been a massive surprise. I mean, there is a part of me that kind of went, you know what? If no one listens to it, I'm not going to bother. So if only I ever got a couple of hundred listeners or what have you, this wouldn't have got much further down the road than a few episodes. But for some reason, people seem to like what I was doing all those years ago, despite the fact that people have been saying, "Oh, let's go back and listen to we'll go back and listen to from show one." And I cringe because I go back and listen to the early shows of Meeples and Miniatures. And I'm thinking, "Oh, good grief, was I really that bad? Why did people listen?"
Because there was nothing else out there.
I can assume there was very little else happening.
It was Meeples or nothing.
Podcasting has changed. Podcasting has changed a lot over the years. I am very proud to have been, I suppose, one of the pioneers. We were certainly one of the first, as far as gaming podcasts are concerned. I think we're the one has been going pretty much the longest. And I still have arguments with Jonathan Reinhardt, because Jonathan. I think that War Game, what is now the War Games Recon podcast, started. I think something like 3 weeks before I did. So he argues that he's been going longer than me, but he took an 18-month hiatus. So bone of contention there. But
and we have done more shows. Hey, John.
Hello, John. So it's been, but no, it has been an absolute blast to do this, and at the end of things, as we're recording this on the 29th of December, when this goes up, although this is show number 283, it actually be 337, the 337th entry on Libsyn. So that obviously includes 283 episodes of Meeples and Miniatures, a dozen or so episodes of View from the Veranda, and then episodes of remember the Meeples and Miniatures review show, review show, Incoming and Incoming 2.0. Yeah, my attempts to do a weekly review show of new releases. Anyway, 337 episodes in total. 1,168,000 downloads. It's not bad, is it, mate?
No. Pretty damn good, some would say.
Yeah. It's amazing how things change. I mean, Libsyn keep changing their changing the way they count things. So I think potentially it now counts less downloads because it doesn't. I think it doesn't count duplicate downloads from the same IP. So it has been more accurate of late. But yeah, well over 1 million downloads. We tend to get an average download for a show of about 2,000. So about 2,000 regular listeners. It has been an absolute pleasure, and thank you to each and every one of you for downloading the show and being part of it.
Time to sign off.
And before we go, this morning we were sent something by the aforementioned Mr. Nick Skinner.
And it is a parcel, and mine's ticking.
Hang on. I think we got 4 minutes to.
Yeah.
Yes, before it goes boom. Nick sent us something which is brilliant and is one person's take on us finishing the show. We asked him if we could use it because it seemed appropriate. So this is called Ode to Meeples. The words have stopped. I check my phone. Where once were many, I'm now alone. The Meeples voices in my head are silent.
No confessions will I hear today. No rule reviews, no games to play. No little wizard dropping by. No bummy dwarf on a board game high.
No tales of adventures will we share. No Kickstarter stories of despair. No advice on how to spend my pay. No stories from the Lardy Day.
No interviews, no guru love. No banter whilst I paint my stuff. No chuckles about unpainted lead. It's all been told. It's all been said.
So, fellow Meeps, it's time to go. You've listened to the final show. This scenario is almost done. It's time to end this slice of fun.
But let's not be sad. Let's celebrate and thank Neil and his little mate for everything that they have done to make this hobby a super one.
So from painting tables, raise your brushes high. And join me in this battle cry. Meeples and miniatures, fare ye well. Now, drop the mic and run like hell.
Oh God, it's so sad, Neil. No! Why does it have to end? Why do you need a life? You don't need a life. You don't do anything with it. Let's carry on, Neil. Let's make Snowcats year and say we're going to carry on next week.
There is a part of me which kind of says, in all this, having made the decision, I feel a real heel. I feel awful.
You should do. I mean, you've destroyed people's lives. Look at poor Lars. Poor Lars has gone off to the wilderness. He's currently living in a tent somewhere in Sweden.
Yeah. Okay. Someone said, don't say the final, just say the final one for now. Because never say never. So yeah, I kind of agree with never say never.
God, no, we're not going back, are we?
But for now, who knows what the future's going to bring?
But for now, the show is over.
Yeah. Like I say, never envisioned it was going to be like this when I started. The last 12 years have been brilliant. I look forward to seeing people around the show circuit. We're not going anywhere on social media. As I said, the blog's still going to be around. We're definitely going to be around. So, whilst you won't be hearing from us in an audio format, it's not as if we're going anywhere otherwise. We'll just be doing slightly different things. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. It's not often you get the opportunity to interview somebody and discover one of your best mates. That happened on this show.
He's going, folks. He's going.
Mike came on as a guest and got to know him, and he has been a kindred spirit in so many different ways. And despite whatever he says and whenever he plays down his role in all this, Mike has been the heart and soul of what we've built. His role has been huge. I know that more than anybody and more than he'll ever accept. But Mike, thank you for everything you've done. Really appreciate it, and it has been a tremendous privilege to be able to get to know you over the last few years. And thank you.
Yet.
So
I love you too, buddy.
No, it's been brilliant, mate, and appreciate it. And it's also worth saying thank you to our other co-hosts over the years, Rich Jones, Dave Luff, Mike Whittaker, and as someone reminded me, Jerry, from way back in the day. The guy who's responsible for our first ever 3-hour show. Thank you guys for sharing your times, your expertise in various areas, your opinions, and just adding to the conversation that we had. And also thank you to all our guests over the years. We've had the pleasure of having so many people on the show, and it has been an absolute pleasure to speak to you and to talk to you about our gaming hobby. So here we are, last time. Okay, we've said it a couple of times now, but this really is the end.
It's really is
the end.
Really. So what's on the next show, Neil? Nothing.
Yes.
This is it, folks.
I can't think that far. I can't think that far ahead. To you, the listeners, you made this what it is. Wouldn't have done this without you, and it has been the biggest pleasure to have spent 12 years with you guys. Have all the fun in the world in our tremendous hobby. We wish you all the very best. Mike, do you want to say something before we go?
No,
fair enough. I just thought I'll let you get a word in edgeways.
I think you've said it all, mate.
Okay.
You've said everything. It's all about the punters, the men, the women who listen to this show, everybody.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Here's to you. Cheers. Have a good one. Until we meet again, wherever that is going to be. Happy gaming. Take care. We'll see you sometime in the future.
Roll good dice.
Now then, Mike. I thought we said something about going off to play games together. Do you know any good games we can play?
No, not at all. I've never actually liked the gaming community. I'm more of a fisherman. So join me from next week for Mike's Tales of the Riverbank.
Goodbye, everybody.